Gorgeous day here in Cincinnati as the Cubs wrap up a week-long NL Central road trip. Already a winning trip, and they've got a chance to take 3 out of 4 in this series. It's the Cubs and the Reds from Great American Ballpark here on WGN. Great to have you with us. Hope your Sunday is going well. Jim Deshaies and Len Casper. So the Cubs have dominated this season series, but the Reds took a little revenge last night.
Indeed they did. John Lackey was going along nicely. Had gone 3 up, 3 down, and 4 the first 5 innings, but they ambushed him in the 6th at 3 home runs in that inning. And you see the comparison. First 5 games, the Cubs won them all, scored a ton of runs. Shut down pitching by both the starters and the bullpen. A completely different story here, as the Reds got a little revenge in the ball game last night.
Having said that, the Cubs have been a terrific road ball club. They're just really good anywhere they play, right?
Yeah, going back to last year, I think 18-3 in their last 21 road games, 9-3 this year, 81 runs scored in the 12 ball games, 10 quality starts. Bullpen has been rock solid, so last night's game definitely an outlier.
All right, some changes in the lineup. We'll get into that a little bit later, and we'll talk about the starting pitching matchup when we return.
Is brought to you by Budweiser. Not backing down since 1876. This Bud's for you. Honda. Get amazing deals at the Honda Dream Garage Sales Event now at your Honda dealer. State Farm. Combine your car and home insurance with State Farm and start saving. Call your State Farm agent today or find one at statefarm.com. Mattress Firm, where we want you to sleep happy guaranteed. Remember, if it's over 8, it's time to replace. Your Chicago area and Northwest Indiana Lexus dealer. And by Southwest Airlines. Transparency, low fares, nothing to hide.
Looks like a busier day on the river than the highways here on a Sunday in Cincinnati. Let's get into the starting pitchers. Couple of right-handers go today.
Yeah, a couple of big right-handers, 6'6" each. Simon and Hamill. Jason Hamill off to a great start this year. He's pitched 3 times. He has an ERA of 1. His start against the Reds on April 14th, quite good. 6 scoreless in that outing. Just the opposite for a big pasta. Alfredo Simon did not make it out of the first inning. A little bit of a tender arm. He's only pitched once since then, 1 inning in relief. Apparently the velocity's up, so maybe he'll be back to his old self here this afternoon.
Off day tomorrow. The Cubs have a big stretch of home games coming up. They have spent much of this first month away from Wrigley Field. Cubs and Reds are next.
I have a feeling the agony of defeat kind of grabbed the headlines last night. Chicago Cubs baseball in high definition is brought to you by Xfinity. Xfinity X1 will change the way you experience TV. I think Cubs baseball might too. And it's been a fun start. Despite the loss last night, Cubs are 13-5, and they have a 3.5 game lead over the St. Louis Cardinals in the National League Central. Some changes in the Cubs Southwest starting lineup. La Stella and Caesar are in there today, so Zobrist and Fowler are out. With an off day tomorrow, they get 2 days of rest. Jason Hayward moves to center. Bryant, Rizzo, the cornermen on the infield. Soler and right. Montero gets his second straight start. Caesar's in left. Addison Russell homered last night. He'll hit 8th. And Jason Hamill had the big hit in his last start. He's in the 9th spot.
Reds defensively. Duvall, Schebler, and Bruce left center right. Suarez at third base. Devontae Jesus spells Zach Cozart this afternoon. Phillips and Votto together again on the right side. Tucker Barnhart in for Mesoraco. And the pitcher, the big guy, 6'6", 270, Alfredo Simon, will work for Cincinnati here today. He's made a couple of starts. That one against the Cubs back at Wrigley, the shortest of his career. He did not make it out of the first inning. Allowed 4 hits, 5 runs, 3 walks. And has pitched just once since then. It was an inning of relief work. For his career, he's 4-1 with a 266 earned run average against the Cubs.
Umpires today, and I have the scoop on Greg Gibson. It's Mike Estabrook back at the plate, the crew chief Dana DeMuth at second, John Byrne and Ed Hickox rounded out. So Greg Gibson worked the first 2 games of this series. He headed to Atlanta because Jeff Kellogg suffered an undisclosed injury in that game. So Greg Gibson, the acting crew chief for that crew, last night and today. There's your weather, 69 degrees. Blue skies above.
Beautiful day to play. A little breezy. Well, we'll see what Big Pasta brings to the table here this afternoon. Typically, he's going to throw 91 to 94 fastball. Good splitter. He'll cut his fastball. Also throw a curveball from time to time.
Simon to La Stella. Fastball high and away. And we are underway.
Yeah, the start at Wrigley, it was a real cold night. He did not have a lot on the fastball. Frankly, he looked a little disinterested. It just looked like he wanted to be out there, but maybe because he was a little tender. If he had the biceps tendonitis, you could understand he'd be a little out of sorts. Apparently, he's had an injection and was throwing the ball better last time out.
Coming back on a 1-1, and La Stella fouls out of play. Tommy getting his 4th start and his first action at second base this year, which is his natural position.
Dexter Fowler with the day off today, a scheduled off day tomorrow, so he'll get a couple days to recharge his battery. And that's the challenge for a manager. You got Fowler's been the best player, arguably the best player in the National League to this point in the season. So, you know, if you ride that hot hand theory, you just keep running him out there. But Joe's philosophy is, you know, I want this guy good all year. I've got to find a way to rest him from time to time so he can keep doing what he's been doing.
He held up. According to Ed Hickox. Fly ball out into center field. On the move is Schebler, and that ball's off the wall. Leadoff double, Tommy La Stella.
Well, he took a page out of Fowler's playbook. Fowler really been driving the ball this year, and LaStella in that leadoff role delivers the leadoff two-base hit. Sinking fastball, outer third down a little bit, short and quick to the ball, and off he goes.
Dexter Fowler likes it. Maybe he's telling Mike Borzello, I could have done that. And he's probably right. Here's Jason Hayward. And he bounces one towards center and a base hit. LaStella around third. He'll score without a throw. Cubs lead 1-0. 2 batters in.
It's a way to start the day. Leadoff double, and then Hayward wasting no time, picking on that first pitch. Ball's actually up a little bit and off the plate. You see how he's really emphasizing that top hand, the focus there to make sure he got that ball on the ground to the right side. That was what he was trying to accomplish, and he got that and a little bit more with an RBI single.
So his 10th RBI of the year, and it brings up Chris Bryant, who's got a 4-game RBI streak, and he's knocked in 8 in the first 3 games of this series.
2 home run game, including a grand slam the night of Arrieta's no-hitter. Yeah, so 2 bombs, 6 driven in, and he only got a silver medal that night. Chris had 1 hit in the ball game last night. His last at bat in the 8th with the bases loaded, he had a rocket to third base for an out.
There goes Hayward, and Bryant with a towering fly ball to left. Back on it is Duvall, and Hayward will retreat. It's the first out, and he just missed one.
Yeah, a lot of times when a guy hits a ball with that kind of a launch angle, you think, well, there's no way it's going to fly out of the ballpark. But when it's Chris Bryant, you think just the opposite. You've seen him hit some massive, towering home runs. Simon doing the look and lean and beg, please stay in here.
That will bring up Anthony Rizzo, 0 for 3 last night with a walk. Snapped a 3-game home run streak. Hayward runs again, pitches high, throw to second on the shortstop side, and Hayward is in. So his 4th steal already.
Wasting no time running on the big right-hander.
So Hayward already on a career best stolen base pace. He stole 23 last year with St. Louis, and he's got 4 in his first 19 games of this season with the Cubs.
Yeah, and he was caught just 3 times last year, so it's picks his spots. He's a very heady base runner. Rarely will you see him make a mistake on the base paths.
It's a strike, and it's 1-2.
There's a 5 out of 15 with a couple of home runs against Alfredo Simon.
High deep drive right field. Bruce and Shebler are back on it, and it is gone. I think it deflected off Shebler's glove. In fact, a 2-run homer.
Rizzo 6 out of 16 with 3 home runs against Alfredo Simon. Yeah, that might have been a top of the wall or off the glove, but it was enough. So after a day off from hitting the long ball yesterday, picks right up here this afternoon. That's number 7 for the main ingredient. This ball again way up above the belt.
Brian Price out. Maybe wondering about fan interference.
Yeah, you can hear Mike Estabrook. Our field Mike's picked him up, basically encouraging Brian. Say, hey, it's a free look. It won't cost you.
Right. This would be a crew chief review of these boundary calls. And so Estabrook and DeMuth have a conversation about it. I didn't see anything that indicated the fan reached into the field of play. That's the key. So our Southwest Airlines, how far did it fly? Ooh, man. I don't. Did Schebler ever get a glove on it is the question. And I don't think he did. And it's not the ultimate question, but.
I think I couldn't tell if that deflected off the fan's arm or Schebler's glove, but it looked to me like he was up over the wall there.
Correct.
The fan wasn't reaching down below what you consider the home run boundary there. So I think that it's going to be a good home run. It's going to be a good goal.
Yep. 383 feet on how far did it fly? Brought to you by Southwest Airlines. Go to WGNTV.com/contest for a chance to win round trip travel for 2 on Southwest Airlines. Yeah, with the naked eye, I thought Schebler had it hit his glove, but I'm thinking it did touch the fan's arm or hand. But if it was over that wall, that is not an issue. Joe Madnow chatting with Mike Estabrook.
And he may be having the conversation that, you know, if the manager doesn't ask you to review it, should you have gone over there and kind of prompted him to ask you to review it?
Joe might also be asking, if this thing is overturned, what happens? And getting that explanation. But again, I don't see anything on our look that would indicate it should be anything other than a homer.
Yeah, that's a great question. What would you do if?
I think probably
2 bases.
Probably 2 bases. Yeah. You're not going to give Schebler the out.
No,
right?
no.
He didn't get a glove on.
Yeah, there's no. You know, if he's camped under the ball, the fan reaches over and clearly interferes as he's about to make the catch, you would call it an out. But that certainly wasn't the case. It's going to stand.
Yeah. And it will. So I guess it was the third base umpire, Ed Hickox, who was out there calling the home run, because the crew chief and usually the guy who made the call originally. And it's Nick Lentz at second, by the way, today. So a 3-0 lead, and here's Jorge Soler, only 1 out.
You ever play the game Clue? You know, Colonel Mustard with the lead pipe in the billiard room.
Yeah.
So big pasta in the first against the Cubs. That's a bad combination there from his point of view. If you're playing baseball Clue.
Well said. Hook foul on the ground.
His first inning ERA, and he's only pitched 6 2/3 innings this year, but his first inning ERA now is up over 30. That's what the Cubs did to him at Wrigley and what they're doing here this afternoon. A completely different day. It was cold and windy that day here. Beautiful day to play.
With that home run, Anthony Rizzo has possession of 18th on the Cubs all-time home run list. He passed Sean Dunston with his 108th as a Cub. Soler strikes out, 2 gone. Montero 2 for his last 18, but he's mixed in 4 walks.
Simon able to get that fastball down to get the swing and miss from Soler, but he's been up in the zone, up out of the zone with a lot of his fastballs here in the early going.
One ball, one strike. Now 1-2. Because of the rain we had Thursday night, Cubs were scheduled to take batting practice on the field, and they did not. They did not hit on the field all weekend. It's something Joe Madden has talked a lot about since he took over as the Cubs manager. And one thing he believes is when you hit on the field, and I would think especially in this ballpark, you get homer happy during batting practice.
Yeah, it's fun to just sit in there and tee off and try to lift the ball out of the ballpark. Get into bad habits that way.
Called strike 3 to end the inning, but the Cubs put up a 3 spot on Alfredo Simon. Jason Hamill will start with a nice lead. And the Cub fans out there very happy about that homer. One run on 5 hits, 13 runs on 15 hits, and 4 homers last night. Schebler's going to lead off today. No Billy Hamilton in this series with a thumb issue. Suarez had the game-winning 3-run homer in the 6th last night. Votto also went deep. Phillips had a couple of doubles. Jay Bruce in right, Adam Duvall in left. Tucker Barnhart gets a start back of the plate. No Zach Cozart today, so it's Ivan DeJesus Jr. and Simon, the pitcher, will hit 9th.
A little different look for the Cubs. Well, very different look for the Cubs in the outfield. Matt Caesar gets a start in left. No Fowler today, so Hayward will slide over and play center. Jorge Soler, his first start in right field this year. Same for Listella at second base. He's with Rizzo on the right side, Russell and Bryant on the left side of the infield. Miguel Montero is behind the plate. And our Blue Cross Blue Shield of Illinois starting pitcher is Jason Hamill. He's made 3 starts. He's 2-0 with a 1. ERA. Choose Blue Cross and Blue Shield, the card to carry through it all.
Schebler homered last night. And a foul strike. Here's Hamill's pitch, and it's 0-2.
In 3 starts, he's pitched exactly 6 innings in all 3 of his outings. 6 scoreless against the Reds 2 starts ago. The other 2, he's allowed 1 run in each of those games. His first start in Arizona, and then last time out at St. Louis. Two to 1 win. He drove in both runs. Didn't walk anybody, struck out 6.
That one missed badly. And it's 2-2. Off day tomorrow. 6-game homestand starts Tuesday night against the Brewers. Swing and a miss for strike 3.
Misfiring with that fastball up and away. Does a nice job staying on top of that breaking pitch for the strikeout.
John Lackey felt like he was too much in the strike zone last night. In that 6th inning, things kind of fell apart. And yeah, there's a time when you can say you're throwing too many strikes, too many hittable strikes.
I always say strikes are overrated.
Suarez got him for that go-ahead 3-run homer. So he was on base 4 times, scored 3 runs. And his average went from 274 to 303.
Jason will go 90 to 94 with the fastball. Usually at his best when he's 91-92 with movement on the 2-seamer. Throw that cross-seam fastball up in the zone. Try to throw it away to a right-handed hitter as well.
Hayward. 2 outs. And Votto takes a strike. Votto off to that slow start, but with 2 for 5 last night. His average has been under 209 times in the first 18 games. Don't think that'll last much longer. He's at 197. Swing and a miss, and Hamill goes 1, 2, 3 to start his day.
Speed replay brought to you by Xfinity. And tomorrow represents the 40th anniversary of Rick Monday, at the time a Chicago Cub, at Dodger Stadium. Rescues the American flag from a couple of protesters who had planned on burning the flag on the field. Speed replay brought to you by Xfinity. Xfinity X1 will change the way you experience TV. Here's Matt Caesar. And he sends one in the air out into left. And it's Duvall to make the catch. Addison Russell with the home run last night. He walked 3 times, and he sends one to deep right. Jay Bruce makes a catch. Nicely done by Bruce as he robs Russell of maybe 3.
Yeah, that would have been fun to watch that play unfold had Bruce not been able to run it down. The first pitch swinging was Caesar. Russell follows up, attacking that first pitch, just misses extra bases. A good catch by the veteran Jay Bruce. So after really working hard in the first, easy peasy here for Simon in the second so far.
Hamill drove in both Cubs runs Tuesday with a bases loaded single in the 4th in their 2-1 win. It was in St. Louis. Melissa Hurd, still middle school. She teaches 7th grade in Aurora. Has her classroom decorated as Wrigley Field. She's here at the ballpark today, rooting on the Cubs.
Yeah, I bumped into Melissa and her husband last night. They said you'd gone out to her classroom last year.
Yes, I did. Simon with a 1-2, and Hamill stays alive for at least one more pitch.
She's got the ivy and the bricks, got the whole thing all.
Yeah.
You could use baseball in a lot of your curriculum, like math. You could do all kinds of math problems. Tell our kids I need you guys to figure out wins above replacement.
Right. Just calculating batting average. He's run it full. Well, you said easy peasy. That was until he got to the pitcher with 2 outs.
Good swing.
Yeah, we'll try it again.
Cub fans, the Cubs return home this Tuesday night, April 26th. Mark it on your calendar. It's the start of a 6-game homestand featuring the Brewers and the Braves. Tickets are going fast. Visit Cubs.com today to pick out the games you want to see.
34-year-old Alfredo Simon deals, and a ground ball up the middle and a base hit for Hamill.
But Kelly Leak doing everything. Phillips has got that good internal clock. He knows when there's a play to be made or not. By the time he tracks this one down, he knows. It'd be foolhardy to try to make a heroic play there and maybe give Hamill an extra base with an errant throw.
0-1 on La Stella. Leadoff double and a run in the first.
And the way he hit the ball last time up, and with Hamill on first base and 2 outs, they're playing him deeper in the outfield. Just go around. Schebler a little bit deeper out there in center field. He's fast, but he's not Billy Hamilton fast.
You mentioned Kelly Leak. I was going to try to come up with a pithy quote, but I don't think anything Kelly Leak said in that entire movie was appropriate for television, at least a family show. Right field, and it'll get to the wall. Hamill to third. Gary Jones is going to stop him there as Bruce got it back in quickly, and that's a good decision as Hamill would have been out by 20 feet. Well, Stella's 2 for 2.
I was talking with Joe in his office today, and he was talking about giving Fowler the day off and playing with Stella and Caesar and Soler. And he said, he goes, I'm looking at this lineup because it's a good lineup. Yeah, there's some changes. I'm bringing some guys off the bench, but I feel very comfortable with this lineup. And Stella making him look like a genius with back-to-back doubles here.
Well, he's making good on the idea of getting everybody involved and giving guys a day off. And if you don't start that fairly early, it's just, I think, much more difficult later to get guys used to that. If you give a guy a day off every 2 weeks, that's 2 a month. That's about 12 games over the course of a season, and everybody's at 150.
I think for a number of reasons. One, you got to keep these guys, these bench guys, involved, give them a chance to get into the flow and just rest. You need to rest the body. You need the rest of the mind.
It helps when you're winning, because there are managers who get into that mindset of wanting to give a guy a day off, but then you lose 4 in a row and you think to yourself, I can't give Fowler and Zobrist the day off. I got to win today.
Yeah,
well, you want to win every game, but you want to use everybody.
You have to have that long view.
He got Anthony Rizzo off his feet a few outs early by letting Matt Caesar hit for him in the 9th last night. Just little things. One. Now 1-2.
One of the better split finger pitches he has thrown.
Simon signed back 1999 with the Phillies. He's from Santiago in the Dominican Republic. Played a lot of basketball and tennis growing up. Second tour with the Reds, he was an all-star 2 years ago. One-two pitch, knocked down by Barnhart.
A 15-10 that year for the Reds. His all-star season in 2014. He had a 3.44 ERA. A winning record with the Tigers last year, 13-12, but an ERA above 5.
Sat out the winter in terms of free agency until signing with the Reds in mid-March.
Yeah, and that may play a part in this little bit of a slow start for him as well. They have so many young pitchers in their rotation. The hope was that Simon could nail down a rotation spot and be a guy they could lean on to pitch a lot of innings and save the bullpen a little bit.
Lined into right, and a base hit. Hamill's going to score, so will Estella. And Hayward knocks in 2 more. He's got 3 RBIs in the first 2 innings. It's 5-0.
Wow, that's got to be maddening for Brian Price. Not to mention for Alfredo Simon. He gets 2 quick outs, has the opposing pitcher up there, and it turns into a 2-run inning at least. Again, up in the zone. I don't know if that was a cutter or a splitter, but it was not good.
Here's Bryant. Well, the value of the Cubs pitching staff having this great start at the plate. Hamill kept the inning alive with that 2-out single after working a 3-2 count.
Yeah, so you know we play around with that run predictor. So 2 outs, nobody on, that run predictor would be like very low. And then with the pitcher up there, if you could factor in who's up, you know, where you are in the lineup.
Yep. Cubs are at 4% in that spot, and Hayward is going to be out. I hope he's okay, as he and Brandon Phillips get together at second base. So that will end the inning, but the Cubs score twice on the Hayward single and lead 5-0 early.
Don't forget to check out Len and JD's baseball blog at WGNTV.com. The blog is sponsored by Jeff Vukovich, your nationwide insurance agent serving the area for 38 years. To join the nation, contact Jeff at jeffvuk.com. Nationwide is on your side.
You got the order right this time. Jason Hayward is 1 for 2 in the stolen base department. He's 2 for 2 at the plate with 3 RBIs. So Hamill will face Brandon Phillips.
"13 pitches to get through a 1-2-3 first with a couple of punch outs."
Who wants it? Hayward in left center. Now Jay Bruce, who has started every game so far for the Reds, who hit the road after this one. They're in New York. They've got a date with Noah Syndergaard tomorrow night.
They better bring their high velocity bats.
0-2.
Good curveball there from Jason, and he actually threw his curveball more in his last start than he did his slider. Normally he leans more heavily on the slide ball.
And he's dispatched. 3 strikeouts here, first 5 hitters. This Friday, April 29th, the Cubs will host the Braves at 1:20. Up to the first 10,000 fans arriving early will receive a Cubs t-shirt presented by the Tennessee Smoky Mountains. Tickets are still available for that Friday game. Visit Cubs.com today, and you head out to the yard, you might hear Rocky Top.
Yeah, I was thinking a little Ronnie Millsap.
Here's Adam Duvall. He hit a 3-run homer and that 7-run 6th last night.
Jason, 6'6", gives you a lot of arms and legs with that delivery.
Soler over and will not have a play.
This is our luge team. They're back for more.
Foul.
Jason got a little scoreless streak going against the Reds. 5 shutout in his last start against them last year. 6 shutout back at Wrigley, and so far so good here this afternoon.
Duvall has grabbed the mostly everyday job in left. Started the season in a platoon with Scott Schebler. He's played well both ways with the bat and the glove. They got him in the Mike Leake deal from the Giants last July 30th as he strikes out. Hamill with 4 punch outs in the first 2 innings. The Cubs have put up 5 already. They'll have Bryant, Rizzo, and Soler when we come back.
Triple play promotion. Text Subway 3 to 97999 right now, and the 300th texter will win a $30 gift card to a Subway restaurant in the Chicagoland area. Subway, fresh is what we do.
Chris Bryant, a long fly out to left in his first at bat, and he cuts and misses. He was at the plate when Hayward was caught stealing to end the second. Oh, thankfully that got his bat and not a digit.
Well, you figure at some point Simon's going to push back a little bit with the hard stuff inside. Cub hitters obviously very comfortable against him doing a lot of damage. The little bit they've seen him this year. Just a bad pitch here, trying to go down and away with a breaking ball. So it's like, what, you know, it's just kind of in between right now. He's makes a good pitch or two and then loses it for a bit. Another high breaking ball. Tough to make a living with that. Chris just missed hitting a home run last time up. Just got under it a little bit. Towering fly to left. Barnhart's running out of fingers. He asked for everything.
Ball four. Tweet us your Cubs selfies at hashtag WGN Cubs. Great picture of Tamara Anderson and her dad John celebrating a birthday. Tamara, associate producer, CSN.
Happy birthday, John.
Yeah.
What a great at-bat by Bryant.
It was.
Last night he struck out. He chased a slider well off the plate last night, and we were commenting how you rarely see him do that. And Simon teasing the outside corner there, and Chris, not going to bite.
Rizzo bit Simon for a 2-run homer in the first inning. And a fly ball to center this time. Schebler at the barrier. Gone. 2 at-bats, 2 homers, 4 RBIs.
Yeah, I was surprised. I was looking at Anthony's numbers in this ballpark coming into this series, and they weren't really that good. I thought it's just a matter of time. In this yard, with his approach and his game, he's going to do some serious damage here. He sure has. He's not going to want to get on the plane.
Southwest Airlines, how far did it fly? 414 booming feet. Go to WGNTV.com/contest for a chance to win round-trip travel for 2 on Southwest Airlines. Soler rolls one into center.
And the Bluebirds starting to make some noise here in Cincinnati. So just to give you an idea of what the Cubs have done here in Cincinnati this weekend offensively, I was just flipping back through my scorebook. Counting this inning, they've come up to bat 30 times, 30 separate innings, right? Mm-hmm. They've scored runs in 15 of those innings. Crooked numbers in 12. 2 or more runs in 12 of the 30 innings they've come up to bat here in this series.
What happens with Alfredo Simon's spot in the Reds rotation is certainly not of our concern, but you got to feel like it's in jeopardy moving forward. And if you're Brian Price, you've got to make a decision. You're down 7-0 in the 3rd inning. How much more do you let him take today versus burning up your bullpen?
Yeah,
it's not an easy decision.
No. I would think, and their bullpen has really had its struggles this year, and I'm sure Brian is probably down there thinking, well, I got to get this guy through 5 innings. But in his start at Wrigley, he was like, I got to get him through a couple of innings, and ultimately had to pull him.
Montero lines into the shift. That ball caught by the shortstop, De Jesus. So now 3 innings for Simon against the Cubs this year. He's allowed 12 runs. I mean, I understand the idea of protecting guys, and particularly veteran guys, with their earned run average, but you could also make the case. Simon's kind of put himself in this position. He's got to be a good teammate now and just get through it.
Yeah, and I think you'd rather ask a veteran guy, hey man, I know you're getting knocked around out here. This isn't a lot of fun for you, but we need you to stretch it out and give us some innings.
Swing and a miss by Matt Caesar.
I remember a game here years ago when I was playing at the old ballpark, Riverfront, and Jim Clancy started, and he just couldn't get anybody out. And that was on AstroTurf. Everything they had was finding a hole, bouncing over somebody's head. And Bob Forsch, who had a great career, was near the end of his career. They brought him out of the bullpen, and Forsch had to suck it up, and he took a pretty good beating too. I think they scored 14 runs in the first inning. 7 or 8 of their guys had 2 hits in the inning. It was unbelievable.
Well, felt like the Cubs couldn't make an out the other night during the Jake Arrieta no-hitter. They put up 16 runs. And if it weren't for Addison Russell that night, who kept lining into outs, we might still be playing game 1. Chris Bryant had 2 homers. One and 2. Yeah, this is really where you challenge that compete level for a starting pitcher.
Yeah, that's about the only thing from a personal point of view you can salvage now, is just being a good teammate, hanging in there and finding a way to compete. On Mother's Day, and that's coming up, it's Sunday, May 8th, Wrigley Field is going pink to promote breast cancer awareness. Join us as the Cubs take on the Nationals at 1:20. Up to the first 5,000 fans in the Budweiser bleachers will receive a Cubs Save Second Base t-shirt presented by Advocate Healthcare. Prior to the game, the Cubs will have a special ceremony to honor breast cancer survivors. For more information, visit Cubs.com.
Well, the other part of this, would it surprise you if he ends up on the DL? I mean, he did have his last start skipped with the biceps issue.
No, and the thing is, his velocity here is pretty good. He's 92, 93.
Saw him make his first start in spring training in the middle of March after he had signed with the Reds, and it was against the Cubs, and he mowed him down. It was spring training, but he was about as sharp as any starting pitcher we saw in the Cactus League. That deflects off Simon's glove, and he bobbled it. Just couldn't get a handle on it. And everybody's safe. It's an error.
You could justify a knock there, right?
fact that he was able to
jump up for it,
right.
and then trying to handle the bounce, he mishandled it.
I think the aesthetics of the attempted recovery probably affected the call.
The artistic merit was not particularly high.
But it's not a bad play if you're going to get knocked around. It might create some unearned runs here. Here's Russell.
The rare time when a player fights for an error as a pitcher. Kidding me? I booted that ball.
I don't want you to go down memory lane too deeply, but there had to be a few starts like this where you're just going, come on, Skip.
Yeah. You're kind of peering out of the corner of your eye. Wow, how come he hasn't come out here yet? What is this? Is he watching the same thing I am? Does my manager hate me?
It's a question you don't want to ask a manager mid-game because the answer may not be what you expect. Right now, that little bit, I got to be honest. Base hit center field. Soler loses his helmet as he scores 8-0.
Yeah, and the other part of it too is you can't catch a break. That ground ball's hit at somebody, gets a double play, gets out of here. And
so a 3-run first, 2-run second, 3 more here in the third, and still only 1 out.
Also, a pretty good charge in one last time. Flew out deep to right field, goes right back through the middle.
Well, the Cubs' run differential kind of took a big hit last night. They've gotten it all back. They lost 13-5, and they're up 8-0.
They have not lost back-to-back games yet this year.
Only team that can make that claim.
That's what Brian Price wants to see more out of from his right-hander. A little fastball command down and away. And it may be if he is, still a little tender in the biceps, kind of just finishing, just trying to finish that pitch. But it's always interesting to me when you see it a lot from pitchers how they're laboring, and then when the opposing pitcher gets up there, they're a little freer, a little more easy, and all of a sudden those last 2 fastballs are a couple of the best pitches he's thrown this afternoon.
Hamill's he's just not going to give in. Swing and a miss. So that's out number 2. So LaStella coming up for the 3rd time, and he will not face Simon. Reds have sent 6 batters to the plate in this game, and the Cubs are getting into their 3rd time through the order. So a pitching change here in the 3rd. It's 8-0 Cubs, and we'll be right back.
Page and show your support of Chicagoland Law Enforcement Night, which is Wednesday, May 11th. Padres are in town. Tickets will be in the terraced reserved outfield section and include a special Cubs law enforcement baseball cap. For more details, visit cubs.com/special events. Man, if that's the logo, that would look cool on a baseball cap.
Here is 28-year-old Drew Hayes. That line from Thursday was his major league debut, and he got knocked around a bit.
Yeah, hoping outing number 2 goes better than the inaugural effort. But everybody got knocked around pretty good in that ball game.
Three in.
Everybody got scathed.
Yep.
A lot of scathing going on.
Caesar at second. Russell, the runner at first, and Tommy La Stella already 2 for 2 with 2 doubles, 2 runs.
Maybe shooting into the left field corner this time, just to show his versatility.
One and two. Might we see Javier Baez play first base a little later if this score holds up? It's possible. That's out of play. Rizzo with his 10th career 2-homer game.
Yeah, I guess it depends on what happens the rest of the afternoon for Rizzo. You know, swinging it like he is now, he might want the at-bats.
Two balls, 2 strikes.
Hayes was actually drafted 3 times. Once by the Diamondbacks in '06. Didn't sign. Mariners picked him in 2009. Did not sign, and then ultimately signed with the Reds after being an 11th round pick in 2010.
That one felled La Stella.
Ankle, instep, somewhere in there.
Votto will step on the bag, and that ends the inning. Anthony Rizzo's gone deep twice in this game. He's now hit 10 career homers in this ballpark. And the Cubs early on have a big lead, 8-0 in the 3rd. As my partner would like to say, they've owned time of possession here early on. Hamill has barely been out there, and that's a good thing. 6 up, 6 down to begin his start, and Tucker Barnhart, who had a game-ending RBI single on Wednesday against the Rockies in the 9th, looks at ball 1. Slider strike. Barnhart a switch hitter. And in for Devin Mesoraco.
And certainly now with his big lead, if Jason falls behind some of these red hitters, he can be very aggressive.
Broken bat flare for a base hit. The Reds first.
And I think it's kind of overstated a lot of times in a one-sided game. People say, "Oh, pitcher's just going to start laying it in there." Obviously, you can't do that. You're going to give up a lot of damage that way. You still got to pitch your game. But against certain parts of the lineup, you can be more aggressive than maybe you otherwise would.
Yeah, there's this adage of pitching to the score. But yeah, I mean, if you're Hamill, you're not thinking, well, I'll just give up 6 innings because I've got an 8-run lead.
The pitching to the score is usually a comment made in hindsight by a pitcher. If you get knocked around a little bit after you had a big lead, well, I was just challenging him.
I love Jack Morris. Had a great career, arguably a Hall of Fame career, but they pretty much debunked the idea of his ERA was inflated because he gave up runs and blowout wins.
Right.
Yeah. But that he pitched to the score.
Yeah, and just anecdotally, what I remember about Jack and the way he pitched, the thing that I was always impressed was when he did give up early damage, that he hung in there. That's when I think about Jack Morris, I think about a guy who just really battled, even when he didn't have his best stuff or was having an off night.
Yeah, and he would fight Sparky whenever Sparky wanted to take him out. I think more than anything, he just pitched a lot more than maybe some guys would on certain days in which they give up runs. Whether that's pitching to the score or not, it's debatable at the very least.
Yeah, and even if that were the case, I don't think there would be enough chances throughout a player's career to quote-unquote pitch to the score to greatly influence his final numbers. If you did have a few starts along the way like that.
Well, and the other thing would be how would you define it if you looked at Hamill's start today? I mean, if he gives up 5 in the next 2 innings, would you just chalk it up and say, wow, he's pitching to the score? He was good. He did what he was supposed to do.
Yeah,
that's not how it works.
And you have to knock on wood, by the way, when you say give up 5.
Right. Having said all that about Jack, still probably one of the greatest pitching performances ever, going 10 innings in the Game 7 World Series clincher in '91. Telling his manager, basically, I am not coming out of the game.
Yeah, you're gonna have 2 pitchers out there, TK. It's going to be an awkward moment for you with 2 guys staying out there on the mound.
Jesus bounces it foul, son of former Cub shortstop and coach Yvonne Sr. Barnhart is being held by Rizzo. Trying to keep that double play in order. It's still really early. It's 8-0, but those unwritten rules don't quite yet apply, right?
Yeah, if he plays behind Barnhart, he's just going to take second base. Keep the double play in order. I mean, you could shadow him. You could play just off his hip and kind of peel back as the pitch is being delivered.
Count full, 3-2. Drew Hayes on deck for what would be his first career plate appearance. So Simon never got an at-bat today. I don't think he got an at-bat in his first start against the Cubs.
No, because he didn't make it through the first in that ball game.
The spot never did come up before he got taken out.
Jesus making Hamill work here. This is pitch number 10. Headed his way.
This is Jason Hayward. Hey, Cub fans, if you want to manage the game along with Joe Madden, log on to WGNTV.com. Right now, click on the WGN Sports Game Zone banner to connect to all the up-to-the-minute stats and information while you're watching at home. Game Zone is sponsored by The Great Escape, pools, patio furniture, hot tubs, and more. Everything you need to have more fun at home this summer. Hayes squares to bunt. Takes the pitch low. So you had a close encounter with a Hall of Famer from another sport. Oscar
Robertson was in the hotel, yeah.
The great Cincinnati Royal.
The Big O.
Product of the University of Cincinnati. There's the bunt, pretty good one, and Hayes gets his job done. Let's step aside and see what's coming up on WGN. Len and JD and our WGN Sports crew on a beautiful day in Cincy. Cubs trying to make it a 5-2 road trip. So Joe Madden, he's an old school basketball fan, and we were talking about the Oscar Robertson Cincinnati Royals. Did you know, and I was wondering, you know, did the Royals fold? Did they become a different team? They ended up in Kansas City, and out of respect for the Kansas City Royals baseball team, they became the Kings and eventually moved to Sacramento.
I forgot all about the Kansas City Kings.
NBA franchise.
The Cincinnati Royals.
I believe it started in Rochester. Yeah. So I learned a bunch about the NBA that I didn't know because you ran into Oscar Robertson.
Yeah. And then when he played for the Bucks, right? He went on to play for the Milwaukee Bucks.
I think the year they got him, they won the NBA title, right?
That I do not know. I would have to phone a friend on that one. I'm strong on my NBA championship trivia.
Bucks had a guy named Lou Alcindor. He put Robertson and Alcindor together. Got a pretty good team. Schebler flies to Soler, and the inning is over. You can phone a friend during the break. 8-0 Cubs. At Wrigley Field coming up. The schedule's brought to you by Ford, inviting you to visit your local Ford store or localfordstores.com. So 13 of 19 on the road to start the season. And beginning Tuesday, 16 of 19 at Wrigley. Ground ball, center field. Three for three, Jason Hayward.
First pitch swinging this time as he did in his first at bat. Delivers the leadoff knock. And the right side of the infield covered, so he was able to squirt that one to the other side of the bag. The early season schedule for the Cubs, based on what teams did last year, set up nicely for them to get off to a good start. They've taken advantage of that. Now they get the chance to play all those games at Wrigley, can really put together a great start here.
That's a strike. And Hayes ahead of Bryant. 0-2. Big hole on the right side, but he hits it to the left side, and the throw will go first, close and safe. Bryant beat it. Call made by Dana DeMuth.
Well, wait and see if the Reds decide to challenge this one. Chris Bryant, we've seen him get a few hits like that, and a little rollover, but he gets a real nice break out of the box. Not many slugging third basemen in the league. They're going to get a base hit on a ball like that. Long striding it. No challenge.
Back-to-back singles to start the fourth, and here's Rizzo looking for his first career 3-homer game. And this might be one of those rare circumstances where in the back of his head he's thinking, I want to hit a home run here. Team already up 8, feeling good at the plate.
Yeah, well, I think, Anthony, like a lot of hitters, until he gets 2 strikes, he's always looking for something to drive. And he's looking to go do damage. Middle of the order hitters, that's the mindset. And then with 2 strikes, he'll change his approach. Now that would be, maybe in this at bat, he might not change his approach if he gets the 2 strikes.
This one popped up. Foul territory, and it's Suarez to make the catch. Just missed his 3rd homer.
Yeah, if the wind would have picked up just a little bit there. We say that all the time when a guy hits a deep fly ball, he just missed it, or takes a big swing and skies one, just missed it. Well, that's kind of the nature of the game. It's pitching is about getting just misses. Just a little bit off the barrel, get a little bit out in front, or get in on his hands just a little bit.
Fouled off by Soler. Time for our Lexus Run Predictor, brought to you by your Chicago area and Northwest Indiana Lexus dealer.
In the future, when we do this, we're going to have to hesitate a beat so we can guess as to what it is. I was going to go 39%. That would have been
okay.
Which is league average.
I love that we have our
way above league average
production meetings on the air.
Yeah,
it's good. It gives us our viewers a little insight.
Got to turn everything into a game. A game within the game. Step out. Oh. Good take. Drew Hayes, 28 years of age, from Mackenzie, Tennessee. He has that Drew Storen-like delivery that kind of leads with that front heel. Or that's the old Storen. Did he make an adjustment? Change his delivery?
Yes. I don't know if he changed it back or not, but yes. A roller to DeJesus. Phillips, 6, 4, 3, and the inning is over. But the Cubs lead this one 8-0 in the fourth.
Pride with Cubs checking and an official Cubs MasterCard debit card only available at your local Wintrust Community Bank. Go to wintrust.com/Cubs to learn more. Member FDIC.
Nothing better than sunshine, hot dogs, and Cubs baseball. I might have just coined a phrase.
I think that's good, yeah. Better than steak at the Ritz.
Suarez takes a high strike. Jason Hamill has given up 1 hit through 3.
Rays lead the Yankees 7-1. I bring that up only because Michael Pineda, pitching for the Yankees, has a very bizarre pitching line. 5 innings, 9 strikeouts, but 10 hits and 7 runs.
Wow. Liner to Russell, who makes a catch. So Suarez has lined out twice. Now Votto struck out swinging in the first inning. Brad Ausmus had a closed-door discussion, as he called it, after the Tigers lost their 3rd in a row yesterday. 6 out of 8. They're trailing 3-2 in the 5th. I believe Carlos Carrasco left due to an injury.
Yeah, covering first base with his leg.
Hamstring strain.
Yeah, I don't see Ausmus as being a screamer or a yeller, you know, in the clubhouse. I think he would be more of a type of manager that maybe closed door meeting, but it would be more of a discussion as opposed to a rant.
Jacob deGrom back on the mound today for the Mets, who lead the Braves in Atlanta 1-0. So he returns. He missed one start because of a lat issue, and then another because of some health complications of his newborn son Jackson. But he's doing fine now, so that's great news. For the Braves, Aaron Blair, a right-hander, is making his major league debut, and he's been good. 5 innings, 1 run. Line shot, base hit for Votto. I mentioned earlier we'll see the Braves next weekend at Wrigley Field. They have hit 3 home runs in their first 17 and a half games. So a 1-out base runner.
Blair pitching for the Braves. He's one of the prospects they got back in the Shelby Miller deal with the Diamondbacks.
I want to do a little research. Again, we're doing our production meeting on the air. I was looking at the Braves, their Baseball America ranking in terms of talent in their farm system.
Yeah.
They went from 29th to 3rd in 1 year. I wonder if that sort of jump has ever happened in one season.
Yeah, it's a pretty big leap forward.
Getting ready to open their new suburban ballpark next year.
Yeah, so it could be a couple of years away from being competitive again, but the future looks a little brighter.
One strike on Phillips.
Titled the Cardinals have hit 7 pinch hit home runs.
Wow.
Marlins second fewest. They've hit 9 long balls. Most clubs, by now hit 15, 20, 25 home runs.
Jason Stark will be all over this.
Yeah.
Baseball is a funny game. Reds scored 13 last night after being outscored by the Cubs 46-7 previously. And they're down 8-0 today.
Help is on the way. They've got Homer Bailey rehabbing. Anthony DeSclafani also on a rehab assignment.
Reds came in at 9-9. Rainbow to right. Soler one-hands it. Hey, Cub fans, let's go. Don't miss your chance to catch the best matchups in baseball by joining the season ticket holder waiting list. It's easy and free to register. For details, visit Cubs.com/waiting list. Bruce with 2 outs. You can now vote for your favorite Cub for the All-Star team online. Really early,
that
but the Cubs
early.
should be well represented, I think, this year in San Diego.
I'll start voting already, huh?
Yeah. Those two guys should be in the mix. And that's foul. And again, I do think Votto should get a little extra credit, even though he's off to this slow start because of the second half he had last year. Jake Arrieta, as you pointed out, didn't make it in 2015.
Yeah, there was a time, a brief time, where they had 2 All-Star games, one midseason, one at the end of the year.
Right, what, Stan Musial, was it? Somebody had like 24 All-Star appearances in 22 seasons or something because of that. I don't know. 3-1 the count. Fouled away. 22 years for Stan the Man, and count 20 All-Star appearances.
59 through 1962, there were 2 All-Star games.
Got it. Okay.
The idea was to raise money to fund the players' pension. Hey, our congratulations to the Blackhawks.
What a comeback.
Big win last night. Game 7 tomorrow.
Joint was rocking last night for sure. Another foul by Bruce.
Votto's getting his jogging in. Hamill's going to be pitching before Votto gets back to first base. Now Bruce is going to step out and let him.
He walked him. Two on for Duvall, who struck out swinging in the second.
This is how the Reds hope to get back into this game. A couple base runners and somebody pop one. This guy's capable. Hit his second of the year last year. Had some big home run seasons as a minor leaguer.
Swing and a miss on a slider.
Had 35 home runs last year combined between the big leagues and the minor leagues. Premeditated?
Yeah, it looked like it. I've had some people point out some comparisons. You know, this Cubs team reminds me of ... The '84 Tigers. That's not a bad comparison. I think they led the league in ERA. It was the American League. Led the league in home runs. Got on base a lot, so they hit for power, the whole deal. That team started 1984, 35-5. The Cubs are 13-5, and think of how much they've dominated the competition. I remember asking Alan Trammell when he was a Cubs bench coach. They were 35-5 going to Seattle. They got swept in a 3-game series to go 35-8. I said, was there any sense of, our run is over and we're going to come back to the pack? He said, nah, we knew we were going to beat everybody. And they won 104 games that year. The 0-2. And it's knocked down by Montero. I think everybody up the middle that year made the All-Star team. Lance Parrish back of the plate. Trammell and Whitaker up the middle. Jack Morris, the pitcher, and Chet Lemon, the center fielder. So the old adage, be strong up the middle, that was definitely the case.
Now Morris, a 19-game winner that year. Dan Petrie, Milt Wilcox all had big years.
You know, Dan Petrie's son plays in the NHL. I think for the Canadiens.
Did not know that.
Yeah. Swing and a miss. That will end the inning. Red Strand 2. Cubs lead 8-0.
Fifth Third Bank, the Curious Bank. All Cubs so far this afternoon, 8 runs on 11 hits. Reds scoreless. They have a couple of knocks. On a beautiful day here in Cincinnati, as the Cubs look to win 3 out of 4. And this was one of those days, right? So you come in, you win 2 out of 3 in St. Louis. You come here, you win the first 2, you get the no-hitter, you score 16 runs. So you lose last night. Would have been a bummer to lose this ball game. You know, still would have been a winning road trip. You're always good with that.
Yeah, you love being greedy.
Yeah,
for sure.
It's just one of those. Well, I was thinking about that coming to the ballpark today. This is one of those mood-changing games. You know, you lose this one, yeah, we still had a winning road trip, but.
So 1 out after Montero popped out. And here's Caesar. he pops it up. So 2 quick outs, and it'll bring up Addison Russell. It was Willie Mays who played in 24 All-Star games in 22 Major League seasons. Thank you to, who was it? Patrick on Twitter for pointing that out. I knew there was somebody with more All-Star appearances than seasons played. And there are many who would claim Willie was the greatest baseball player ever.
Well, he was the personification of an all-star, wasn't he? With, you know, obviously the talent, the numbers he put up, but the personality and the flash. I still come down on the side of Babe Ruth as the greatest player ever, with how he dominated the league at the time. And doing things nobody had ever come close to doing.
Adding the pitching component to it.
Yeah,
for sure. Yeah. Bigger than life personality.
Addison Russell will probably make a few all-star teams before he's done.
Would it be fair to say the 2 most important people in terms of West Coast Major League Baseball ever are Willie Mays and Vin Scully?
Case could be made, yeah.
If you're a Giants fan of a certain age, right? Willie was your guy. Dodger fans of all ages can say that about Vin.
Well.
Yeah, they both made the move from New York to LA. In the case of the Dodgers, from Brooklyn. Look forward to seeing Vin at Dodger Stadium as he's in the final year of his illustrious broadcasting career. Those had to be fun trips for all the other teams, right? In the late 50s. We're going to California.
The final frontier.
Yeah.
And then in the Pacific Coast League, when they had a team in Hawaii there for years, that was always a big trip.
How many games would you play? Would you go for a week?
There we go. Yeah, I think they go over and play like a whole week's worth. Maybe 2 4-game series. Play 8 games. And then the Hawaii team, when they traveled, they would come to the mainland for a couple of weeks at a time.
Swing and a miss to end the frame. Cubs lead this one 8-0. Celebrate Youth Baseball and Softball Appreciation Day. Buy your tickets now through the Cubs special events page to get a special Cubs youth bat and ball set. A portion of net proceeds will be donated back to all participating teams or leagues of 50 or more. To purchase tickets and for more information, visit Cubs.com/special events. Cubs jumped on Alfredo Simon early and often. And lead 8-0 as we play the bottom of inning number 5. That one kicked off the mound and right to Russell.
A nice Sunday hop. Very convenient. Had some steam on it.
Y or an E?
Now took a little bite out of it. This big lead, barring any kind of a crazy rally here by the Reds, will allow Joe Madden to use his bullpen precisely as he wants to. I mean, he can let Hamill go as deep into this game as he wants, or if he decides he wants to get some work for a couple of his guys out there, he'll have that option.
One of his Saturday evening hot for Russell, but he made that play too. Let's step aside and see what's coming up on WGN. Cubs and Reds wrapping up a 4-gamer. Cubs seem to be on their way to making it 3 out of 4, but we still have a long way to go. Hey, it's Addison Russell again. And the inning is over. 2 hits for the Reds through 5. Cubs lead 8-0.
Brought to you by Budweiser, not backing down since 1876. This Bud's for you. This Bud's for you, Mr. Security Man.
Is that the real guy, or is it?
No,
I'm going to say no.
It's a throwback.
Yep.
Throwback John 3:16 guy.
Yep. For you youngsters, again, Google is your friend.
Saves us a lot of explaining.
Yes.
A lot of splaining.
6th inning. Well, it is a blowout game, but feels like it's important for Drew Hayes. High fly to right. Bruce back at the wall. Gone. Tommy La Stella with number 1.
Well, he's not just getting his hits today. He's driving the baseball. Two doubles, and now, boom. Well, he doesn't hit many because he's going hard out of the box. Not sure that he got all of it, but he certainly did.
Zip. I was just going to say this could be an important outing for Drew Hayes. I mean, there is a land of opportunity on this Reds pitching staff at the moment. Time for our Southwest Airlines. How far did it fly? Far enough. 367 feet. Go to WGNTV.com/contest for a chance to win round trip travel for 2 on Southwest Airlines.
8 total bases for La Stella here today. It's kind of his way of telling Joe, don't forget about me. And 17 at-bats coming into play here today.
Sharply hit grounder, knocked down by Phillips. And he gets Hayward. First time Jason's been retired today.
Little bobble by Phillips, but he recovers just in the nick of time to get Hayward.
Have we covered the unwritten rules in the late innings of a blowout in terms of replay? I think we decided you got to do it, right? If you're a manager. So let's say it's 16-0 in the 8th inning, and you think your guy is safe. If you're Joe, what do you do there? that adds another layer.
It depends on the guy. I really do, and I think if the guy's going good, you just kind of let it go. If the guy hasn't had a hit and he's 0 for his last 19, maybe you challenge it and see if you can get a knock.
Swing and a miss by Bryant.
I mean, I think most managers would tell you they'd rather not challenge at all, just let it be. It's a blowout game. But
base hit. Maybe more. Bryant on his way to second, and he will stand there with a double.
His stroke has been looking so good here the last few days. 3rd time on base this afternoon. Walk. That was to lead off the 3rd. He came around and scored a little infield hit last time, a rollover, but his speed, bottom hand. This is just a good swing. Nose rate on it. Extends through. He has tremendous power the other way. You can hit the ball on a line a long way to right field. A little bit reminiscent of Giancarlo Stanton.
A walk, a single, and a double for Bryant today. Here's Rizzo. 2 homers, 4 RBIs, 2 for 3. Ground ball, Votto. 2 down, runner at 3rd.
How do you get to Wrigley Field? The Cubs suggest taking public transportation. The Cubs do offer a free bike check, now located by the Addison Red Line station. If you drive, the Cubs provide free remote parking and shuttle service on night and weekend games. For information, visit the A to Z guide at Cubs.com.
Soler flies to Schebler to end the inning. Stella goes deep. It's 9-0. Time for a Mazda replay cam. Jason Hamill hasn't needed a ton of run support today. He's been really good once again.
Yeah, he's kind of like Ringo, right? He kind of gets lost in the shuffle a little bit in this starting rotation, but he came into the start with an ERA right at 1, and he is not allowed to run in 5 innings.
Third time through the order. And with this big lead, it could be get through 6 and then give some guys in the bullpen some reps with the off day tomorrow. We'll see.
So it's 16 consecutive scoreless innings for Jason against the Reds, dating back to his last start against them last year. At least that many. I don't know what he did in his prior start. Did you see the scoreboard stumper today?
I didn't, but I could find it. Did you see it?
I saw it, and then by the time I peeked, they were taking it off the board.
Okay. I'll find it for you. Fouled off by Schebler. Since 1990, 5 players have hit 20 or more homers in a season in which they played fewer than 100 games while playing for the Reds. Can you name them? As Hamill strikes out Schebler. 20 or more homers, fewer than 100 games.
Since 1990.
Since 1990. You know what? I'm going to go David Ross as one of those guys.
I know he had 19 in 1 year.
Okay.
And these are single season numbers they're looking for.
Yes.
Right? What about a guy like Willie Mo Pena?
That's not bad. J.J. Hoover having all kinds of problems and try to get some of them sorted out today, it appears. Did Adam Dunn have a
have an injury-plagued season? If he did, he's a possibility.
Griffey, he had
Griffey, right?
A couple short seasons here due to injury. I made Mesoraco play a couple of years ago when he had 25.
Ooh, yeah.
I'm going to cheat. I'm going to look at the media guide at that one. No, he played 114 games that year.
And that ball a little bit misjudged by Caesar, so Suarez is on.
Might add a little top spin. MLB.TV Premium, the #1 live streaming sports service, delivers everything you have come to expect and more. Watch every out-of-market game live in HD on over 400 supported devices. Includes a free subscription to At Bat Premium, the #1 app for live baseball. Blackout and other restrictions do apply. Visit MLB.TV for details.
One ball, no strikes on Joey Votto.
Kyle Hendricks will pitch the opener of that series with the Brewers on Tuesday. Jimmy Nelson will work for the Brewers. Brewers rotation really struggling, but Nelson's been solid. He's 3-1 with a 3.46. See some inflated ERAs in that top row with Youngman and Davies. Wednesday's game will be on WGN, and Mr. No-No will be pitching for the Cubs.
No Matt Garza for the Brewers. He's on the disabled list.
Doesn't matter the score, what's going on in the game. Votto's going to give you everything he's got each and every at bat.
Second walk issued by Hamill. Yeah, the process matters a lot to Joey Votto. Here comes Chris Bosio. Brief anecdote from Chris Bosio on his no-hitter a couple of days ago, the 23rd anniversary of the no-hitter he threw with the Mariners against the Boston Red Sox at the Kingdome. Prior to that 1993 season, he nearly signed with the Cubs. They signed Jose Guzman instead. Said his grandfather wanted him to pitch on the West Coast so he could see him more often. And sadly, his grandpa died during spring training of that year. So he said the final ball went in the air, and he was looking up, saying, "That one's for you, Grandpa." Here's Brandon Phillips. Bosio said that was the worst he felt physically during any start of his life. He had the flu.
Yeah, but you hear that a lot. Guys have great games and not feeling well at the start or even throughout because you have to concentrate so hard. Through 97 pitches in his no-hitter.
Didn't he walk the first two batters of the game?
The rest of the way.
Said he slightly changed the grip occasionally that day on his fastball through that BP dead fish that the Red Sox had not seen before. And that helped him a lot.
Well, that kind of creativity is really important, you know, and not so much in a Seattle-Boston matchup because they wouldn't see each other that much. But now, you know, so many games you play within the division, I think it's important for pitchers, especially guys whose stuff might be a little bit short, to get a little creative, change arm angles, change tempo, do something against the teams that you see so often.
Cut and miss, strike three. Phillips is gone. Strikeout number 7 for Hamill.
Now, important to change your patterns too. Don't become predictable. Good visit by Boz.
Yeah, that staying away from patterns, that's a big one. Well, and that's why, you know, Greg Maddux, there would be times when he would do stuff and a hitter would not react the way he had learned over the years, and it would be like, wait a minute, you're not supposed to do that when I do this.
Yeah, you're guessing, you're starting to figure me out here, so I'm going to call an audible.
Oh, 1 on Bruce. Kick, the pitch, pulled on the ground, foul. This will be a 19-game season series. The Cubs have won 5 of the first 6. The final series will be to finish off the season. September 30th through October 2nd. A weekend here in Cincinnati.
Well, good. It'll be Oktoberfest. We can do the chicken dance in Fountain Square.
Fun.
You know, they have one of the world's largest mass chicken dances every year here in Cincinnati.
I didn't know that. Two bounces to Rizzo. Hamill's over at the bag, and that's it. After 6, Cubs 9, Reds nothing.
Talking it over with his starting pitcher as they look at the lineup card. Pitcher spot is due up 4th here in the 7th. I'm guessing he's done for the day, especially nearing 100 pitches and with a 9-0 lead. Here's J.J. Hoover, who began the year as the Reds closer, and you see the ERA. It has been a rough go. Apparently has made some sort of adjustment mechanically, and we'll see if he has some more success today. Jordan Pacheco is in at second base as well for Brandon Phillips. There's a first pitch strike.
Sometimes when a pitcher's really struggling like Hoover has been, as you look at Pacheco, pitching coach will do something subtle, more so just to plant a seed in the pitcher. Hey, if you do this, we're going to fix this problem, just to give him something positive to cling on to, kind of a placebo effect. You're going to separate your hands a little bit earlier, turn your shoulder just a little bit this way, and I promise you that's going to fix the problem.
Assuming Hamill is done, he's got a 0.75 earned run average through 4 starts. And that is extremely encouraging.
Carroll's had some fastballs to hit here in recent games, just hasn't been able to square them up.
This one hit pretty well, but it'll land in the glove of Duvall. Okay, so we're going to play your game here, partner.
Okay.
We're going to do our Lexus run predictor. 1 out, nobody on for the Cubs.
Cubs are 24%.
Reds
pitchers are 33%. No, that's too much. 29%.
Okay, I'll go with that. Breaking ball is outside on Matt Caesar.
Okay.
A little closer on the pitchers than the hitters. League average 16%.
That's a fun game. Well, the good news for J.J. Hoover and all the other pitchers around baseball with the inflated ERAs, there's a whole lot of time to lower that big number.
Called strike 3.
Hamill came in with an ERA, as we mentioned, of 1. That was good for 5th best in the league. His ERA now is actually better than Jake's, which was number 2 at 0.87.
Obviously, the second half struggles the last couple of years, something we won't find out till later this season. But all Hamill can do is just go out and pitch. And he's been terrific. Foul tip 2-2. Hey, Matt Duffy had 3 hits on his bobblehead night in San Francisco last night. You referenced it with Joey Votto last night. And look out, he had a couple of hits, including a home run. So the theory is correct.
Guys respond in a big way when it's their bobblehead night.
Fly ball center field. This is Schebler. And the inning is over. Stretch time. All Cubs today leading 9-0. Has been brought to you by Southwest Airlines. Transparency, low fares, nothing to hide. Ford, America's best-selling brand 6 years running, inviting you to check out our fuel-efficient lineup at your local Ford store or at localfordstores.com. Mattress Firm, where we want you to sleep happy guaranteed. Remember, if it's over 8, it's time to replace. Your Chicago area and Northwest Indiana Lexus dealer. State Farm. Combine your car and home insurance with State Farm and start saving. Call your State Farm agent today or find one at statefarm.com. Honda. Get amazing deals at the Honda Dream Garage Sales Event now at your Honda dealer. And by Budweiser. Not backing down since 1876. This Bud's for you. It is time for a Sunday edition of our Cubs Fan Cam. Is Together Pangea with Looked Into. That's T-O-O. Adam Warren takes over for Jason Hamill.
He has not had a whole lot of work, but what he has done has been impressive. 5 games, an ERA of 0. 5 innings, a couple of hits, 3 walks, 5 punch-outs. It was Mike Hargrove, the first person I heard use the term pitchability. Warren has a high pitchability factor. Moves the ball in and out. Good fastball command. 4-pitch mix: fastball, slider, curve, and change.
You're speaking of the human rain delay. Mike Hargrove.
Look at that. Look at that pitchability right there.
There you go. Right on cue. So Duvall is out. He has struck out all 3 times.
First 2 times swinging. This time he says, I'm not going to chase. I'm not going to chase. And he gets rung up on a perfect pitch. It's the anatomy of a bad day right there. Beautiful pitch, though. Still plenty of time to go out and get a nice meal tonight. Turn his day around.
Sounds like an Alanis Morissette song. The anatomy of a bad day.
Got to leave it at the yard, man. We'll spend some time with the family and go out, fire up the grill on a beautiful day like today. It's all good. Most of these guys are pretty optimistic. You know, if you're a Major League Baseball player, a lot of good things have happened to you along the way. Apparently, Jake has either purchased or is going to purchase a watch for David Ross for catching that no-hitter.
He says these no-hitters are getting expensive.
I'm sure it'll be a high-fashion timepiece.
Left center, and it's Caesar on the dirt to retire Barnhart. Ever bought any fine jewelry, like on the street, you know, in a big city?
No, I have not done that.
I will not name the city. I bought a beautiful watch, $50.
How long did it work?
1 day. But I think I wore it for about 10 days just because I wanted to feel like I got some use out of it. It looked good. It just didn't work.
Yeah. It was right twice a day. Warren acquired from the Yankees in the Starlin Castro deal. Castro got off to a great start, but the numbers lately not so good for him. 250 something he's hitting now. Maybe he had all those RBIs early on.
Jesus, versatile defensively in his major league career. Just 135 games since 2011, but he's made starts at second, third, short, left, first, and DH. Two and two on him. The pitch, ground ball to third, backhanded by Bryant, and he gets him. And Warren works a 1-2-3, bottom of the 7th. It's the Cubs 9 and the Reds nothing from Cincinnati.
Game summary, and the Cubs jumping all over this Reds pitching staff. Alfredo Simon in particular. Make sure you get amazing deals. Yeah, Baez a little stare down there. At the Honda Dream Garage sales event, now at your Honda dealer. Hoover backed him off the plate. Javi didn't like it.
That might have been part of the conversation they had with Hoover, that he needs to make guys a little uncomfortable. Clips the outside edge with that one.
Billy Hamilton, first appearance in the series, dealing with a left thumb bruise. Duvall goes left to first. Schebler goes center to left. Swing and a miss. So that means Joey Votto is done for the day. Ground ball to the shortstop. De Jesus. Big day for Tommy La Stella. 4 at-bats, 3 hits, 2 doubles, a homer, 3 runs.
Joe's got a lot of options. La Stella, second base is his natural position today. His first start there. He's played some third. I know Joe really likes the look of Baez Russell together on the left side of the infield, especially if he's got, ground ball pitcher out there. The guy like Lester, lefty, who gets a lot of ground balls hit in that direction. I think he really likes the look of Russell and Baez, and he really likes Chris Bryant in left field. But he's got to keep Soler involved as well.
Schebler. Two outs, and it's Hayward. 3 hits, 3 RBIs. All coming in the first 4 innings.
Seems to me that Hoover's working a little more quickly here today, and we've seen him. That might be part of the message too.
Picking the pace a little bit. It's never a bad bit of advice, is it, for a pitcher?
No, because I think sometimes if you work slowly, you get a little too pensive out there. You tend to overthink. You become a little tentative in your approach.
Occasion you'll hear that a guy's going a little too quickly, speeding up his delivery, all that stuff, but in terms of between pitches, getting into a nice rhythm usually involves not taking a lot of time.
Steve Traxel, right? Who works so slowly. You're talking about Hargrove earlier, the human rain delay. Traxel, Hargrove. Confrontation. I might have taken 30 minutes for that at bat.
Out toward left center, and Hayward's got another hit. Well, think about the week he's had. He had all the hype with him returning to St. Louis. I think he had 1 hit in that series. Big defensive set, but he was hitting rockets all over the place for outs. Well, he's got 4 hits today.
Yeah, there's the strength there as he goes down and gets that low ball and rifles it into left center.
Over, but too high to Bryant.
3 hits for La Stella today, 4 for Hayward. Bryant's got 2 plus a walk. Rizzo 2 long balls.
7th time in his career he's had 4 hits. $36,220. The paid crowd here in Cincinnati. Look out. 2-1. Yeah, anecdotally, you'd have to say that's part of the remedy, according to the Reds, for J.J. Hoover. Don't let guys get comfortable.
Yeah, and commit. If you're going to try to make a pitch inside, you got to commit to it. A lot of guys get a little tentative. They don't feel comfortable throwing inside, and they'll cut the ball off. Either throw it low in the zone or just throw a nothing fastball out over the plate. You don't need to be throwing up and in under guys' chins or flipping people, but just hard, something with action inside is going to get a hitter's attention. We saw it with Baez clearly.
Well, Hoover went 1-2-3 in the 7th. He got the first 2 outs here in the 8th. But then the double by Hayward, the walk to Bryant, and Mark Riggins, the pitching coach, will head to the mound.
I'm wondering if the Reds were wishing they'd gotten Hoover out of there after that 1 clean inning where he kind of feel good about his day and start his mental rehab.
It's Ross Ohlendorf. So Hayward now has 10 hits over his last 5 games. Definitely locked in. And he looks like he's ready for the roller derby. All that equipment out there at second base, wrist guards and face shields. One to Rizzo. It's a strike. It's 1-1.
So what did we hear earlier that Anthony's never had a 3 home run game? Is that correct?
Correct. He's got 10 2-homer performances. His 3rd shot at number 3. Hasn't hit it out of the infield since that 2nd home run in the 3rd inning.
Well, the strike in this sequence was a changeup. It was in the zone. It didn't have great action.
Bullet foul.
Out in front of that heater, and that may convince Barnhart to ask for another off-speed pitch.
while he's hitting the ball out of the ballpark, he's had miserable luck on balls in play so far this season. So that average should go way up if he just keeps doing what he's doing. Came in with a BABIP of 128, and those home runs won't help because that's what batting average on balls in play is about. Balls that can be fielded by somebody.
Yeah, so it measures luck to a certain extent and also quality of contact. Sometimes that low BABIP will reflect a lot of soft contact. It's certainly an element of luck there too.
Off the plate in. Full count. Rizzo has more RBIs than games played. 21 knocked in. This is only the Cubs' 19th game. Runners go, and ball 4.
Yeah, they're not going to let him continue here.
Pitching change, JD. I looked through my phone. I found a picture of the salesman who sold me that watch a couple of years ago. Worked for 24 hours. Appreciate it, buddy. We'll be back. This is right-hander Ross Ohlendorf. Bases are loaded. All this happening with 2 outs, double and back-to-back walks.
Veteran right-hander will pitch for the 10th time. He's been very decisive. 3 wins and 2 losses in his first 9 appearances out of the bullpen.
That's a
taking
happy
advantage
dog.
of the good weather, huh? So Laird will be looking to swing early, get something in the zone. He'll likely be hacking here. I guess not.
Would a second pitch swing be considered early? An early swing?
Probably you're going to try to jam him here.
Ooh. 1-1.
See, Ohlendorf kind of mirroring what Hoover was doing, breaking balls or off speed in the zone and then fastballs to push hitters off the plate.
Foul ground to ball near the tarp, and he's all right, and the inning is over. We go to the bottom of the 8th, 9-0 Cubs. Holding the Reds to 3 hits. Javier Baez, as we theorized earlier, is going to play a little first base. He played 1 inning there last year. And so with this action, he's now played all 4 infield spots already this year. And he just recently came off the DL.
Travis Wood was very busy early on. He's had a few days off now, but he's working for the 9th time. Had 4 days off since his last appearance. Worked twice in the Cardinals series.
Pacheco fouls out of play.
Travis has pitched scoreless baseball in 7 of his 8 appearances.
Made his major league debut for the Reds against the Cubs. Pacheco can play just about anywhere. He can catch as well. Travis was 23 when he made his debut as a starter. July 1st, 2010, in this ballpark against the Cubs, and he went 7 innings. Gave up 2 earned runs that night. Check that, it was at Wrigley Field. The Reds won the game 3-2. It's funny. I think Mike Leake made his debut here, and I confused the two, which is understandable. Kind of the mirror image. I like how I gave myself a break there.
That was good, yeah.
I'm an excuse maker. 2-2 on Pacheco.
The great Christy Mathewson said it was always important to have an excuse. He was a big believer in that. The Hall of Famer. But you got to be able to explain away your badness, your struggle. You have a bad outing. Got to blame it on something.
Swing and a miss for strike 3. It is the 8th inning. It's time for our Mattress Firm Grade 8 stat of the game. This is the 7th time the Cubs have scored 8 runs, and we're only in the 19th game of the year. Wow. And it's the 5th time against the Cincinnati Reds. It's brought to you by Mattress Firm. There's John Maley, the hitting coach. We want you to sleep happy, guaranteed. Remember, it's over 8. It's time to replace. Shepler with a fly ball to center, and it's Hayward.
It was a changeup that Woody used to strike out Pacheco. He threw at least 2 in that sequence, and most guys don't like to come into games that are this lopsided, but it's an opportunity to work on some things. Maybe throw a pitch a little more frequently than you normally would, just to get the feel of it, see how hitters react to it. Travis, after making the move to the bullpen last year, became a little more fastball centric. Joe Madden encouraged him to throw his fastball more. He was able to pick up a little velocity after moving to the pen. But this is a time to, you don't want to get completely goofy out there, but if you want, if you're thinking about messing around with changing an arm angle or working on a new pitch or a different grip, 9-0 is the time to do it.
Yeah, it's our job to get goofy on occasion, but not the players. Oh, 2 to Suarez is outside. Yeah, 93 is not something we saw a lot when Travis was starting.
Yeah, there's a theory out there that guys that throw a lot of cutters, ultimately sacrifice velocity because of it, because they kind of cut it off a little bit in their delivery and they kind of lose extension on their fastball. I don't know if that's true or not. Mostly it's when guys go from, being asked to pitch 6 innings to pitching 1 inning, they're able to just turn it loose a little more aggressively.
He struck him out, and Suarez will have a little convo with the home plate umpire. 9-0.
We'll have game 2 of the upcoming series against Milwaukee Wednesday night at 7, right here on WGN Sports, and it is Jake Arrieta night as he's coming off his second career no-hitter, the 15th in Cubs history. Second player ever to go without a loss between no-hitters. Johnny Vandermeer threw no-hitters in back-to-back starts. And there's a reason he's smiling. It's been a great run. Ross Ohlendorf, maybe with a Johnny Vandermeer-like delivery.
Yeah, speaking of
never saw him pitch.
Yeah.
Vandermeer was a lefty. Pacheco to Duvall for the out. Montero 0 for 5, but catching a shutout. One of Vandermeer's nicknames was double no hit.
How prescient.
I assume it.
Oh, you think he got it after he threw 2 no-hitters?
He was dubbed double no hit after it happened.
Would have been really cool if he'd had it before.
Looking at his baseball reference bullpen page, there's a quote. Many years after his retirement, said, "At least once a day I hear about my no-hitters. It's just something that's caught the public's imagination." Yeah.
One of them was it the first night game? It was in Cincinnati.
It
or
was the
something.
second one at Ebbets Field. He was honored before that game because there were a lot of his hometown friends from New Jersey at the game. They wanted to see him pitch. He walked 8 in that second no-hitter.
Probably wasn't on a pitch count.
No, I don't think so.
You could set Ohlendorf's windup here to music. A whole lot going on with that old-fashioned windmill. Watch the foot. He moves all over that rubber. Step, tap, and go.
Breaking ball hit hard, and on a hop, it's played by Duvall, and Caesar's just out at first. Well, that's always dangerous, that head first slide, but he actually may have avoided contact as Ohlendorf was coming across the bag.
Yeah, I guess that would be one time you could justify the head first slide. One, when there's a potential tag play. Two, on a play like this where you feel like you might have to slow down to avoid contact.
Just hate to get stepped on or something.
Yeah, as a general rule, I'm not a big fan.
That's about as smooth as you can be, though, doing it. Matt Caesar. .94 and a strike.
Especially in a 9-0 game, right? I mean, you always want to play the game hard. There's something to be said for self-preservation.
Foul tip to end the inning. We go to the bottom of the ninth. Cubs lead by 9.
You said the closer's only made 4 appearances through the first 18 games. You go, uh-oh, that's not good. Well, it's actually the opposite. They haven't needed him to close games because of all these big leads.
Yeah, I was just doing some math, actually. I was looking at the Cubs game by game here, and their average margin of victory is like just under 6 runs.
That is pretty ridiculous.
And that's, you know, and it'll be obviously over 6 after today.
Billy Hamilton with his first plate appearance of the entire series. Dealing with a left thumb bruise. So yeah, he's worked 4 innings here in these first, 3 weeks of the season. And has been very sharp to this point. Full count, 3-2. Tyler Holt is on deck. Called strike 3.
Well, Suarez wasn't happy when he was rung up to end the 8th inning. Billy Hamilton a little upset at that strike 3 call. But, well, it's borderline. And, you know, given where we are in the ball game and the score, hitters got to realize umpire might open that zone a little bit.
So after that Wrigley Field opening night thriller, in which Addison Russell hit the dramatic game-winning homer in the 8th, since that night in the season series, the final scores, the Cubs have won all but one of these games. 9-2, 8-1, 16-0, 8-1, 13-5, and today it's 9-0. Hence our conversation about Oscar Robertson and
yeah,
watch I bought.
They haven't been drama filled other than whether Jake was going to get the no-hitter or not.
Right. Holt strikes out. 2 gone here in the 9th.
12th red to strike out here this afternoon. Cubs have issued just a couple of walks. The Cub fans in the city this weekend enjoying this. Getting ready to raise the W.
Here's Jay Bruce. If each Cub game were a movie, I guess you'd say we've seen more comedies, quote, laughers, than we have dramas.
That's, yeah.
Here in the first 3 weeks, and that's all right. An occasional thriller. This should do it. Baez with a little bobble, but plenty of time. Rondon covering. Cubs win 9-0 the final. A combined 3-hit shutout. And while much of our conversation today was about the bats, how about Hamill, Warren, Wood, and Rondon as well?
Yeah, it was over early as they ambushed Alfredo Simon. But Jason Hamill now 4 starts in. He has pitched exactly 6 innings in all 4 of his starts. He's allowed 1 run twice. He's allowed